Hello there. This is going to be part 3 of a story, so if you haven't watched the first 2 parts yet, I highly recommend watching those first, or else this won't make any kind of sense for you. So now, let's get back to the story. We open part 3 in Lagos with Steve, Nat, Sam, Wanda, Pietro chasing down Crossbones. Steve freezes up at the mention of Bucky's name, as before, and Rumlow attempts to blow himself up and Wanda lifts him into the building before he explodes to everyone's horror. Back at the Avengers compound, General Ross visits the Avengers and tells the Avengers that the world cannot tolerate their free reign after Angel Grove, Turtle Cove, Reefside, New York, South Africa, and Nigeria. He puts the Accords, now called the Africa Accords, before them. He tells them that they can either sign the Accords, reveal any concealed secret identities, and act only with the consent of the UN, or they can retire. Billy speaks up saying most Power Ranger teams will never accept this. They swore an oath to conceal their identities, and never escalate a battle unless their enemy forces them to. What if the UN commands them to escalate a battle when it doesn't need to? What then? Steve then brings up the fact that these committees are run by people with agendas and agendas change, and he still believes that the safest hands are still their own. Tony in this version agrees, saying anything below their pay grade Ultron can handle anyway, and if anything comes along that Ultron can't handle, then the Avengers need to be able to act quickly, and the Accords will only get in the way. Ross agrees and admits that the Ultron program has been as efficient as promised, but he gave them a choice. Tony interrupts by telling Ross that they choose retirement, and Ross looks around the room to see most of them giving him the same stern look as if to say, "We're not retiring." Ross turns to leave after telling him not to do anything stupid. Tony shows him out, and while they walk, Tony and Ross draw up an agreement to give the UN direct access to Ultron. Tommy, Jason, and Billy teleport back to the command center, and Billy sends a message to every Ranger team telling them about the Accords and telling them it's ultimately their choice on what they do. Steve goes to Peggy's funeral and Natasha meets with T'Challa in Vienna, but in this version everything goes fine due to Zemo not being involved. He's not coming after the Avengers because Sokovia wasn't destroyed and his family didn't die in this version. The United Nations, however, are concerned that they don't have any Avengers to control anymore, so they work at building their own team. Ross pulls some strings and has Abomination released from prison under the condition he signs the Accords and joins the new Avengers, and he agrees. T'Challa joins the new Avengers as its leader, due to signing the Accords already. Nat and Rhodey also join the team. After Lightspeed Rescue and Time Force sign the Accords, Ryan and Eric also join the team. The team is also backed by Ultron. The Avengers agree that they need to protect enhanced individuals that may be put in danger by the Accords. Tony mentions Spider-Man on YouTube, and Sam mentions Ant-Man. Pietro says he'd be able to discreetly run over to Queens and find Peter, and Sam calls Scott ahead and tells him they're coming to pick him up. Pietro picks up Peter, and Tony upgrades his suit, while Steve, Tommy, and Sam fly to San Francisco at night for Ant-Man. They put the Quinjet into stealth mode and land atop a building. They all gear up just in case and watch the perimeter. They send Tommy to meet Scott. He reaches Scott, and the two make their way back to the Quinjet, but their path is blocked by Black Panther, Black Widow, Titanium Ranger, and Quantum Ranger. T'Challa tells Tommy to move aside, and they're there for Scott Lang to sign the Accords. Scott says they're not signing anything, and Eric says that he's in possession of dangerous technology, and they'll need to take it. Scott says he can't do that because it doesn't belong to him. T'Challa then tells him he's under arrest as they approach, and he's not backed by Steve's shield, and it rebounds and he catches it. Sam drops in Steve, the 8 of them square up. Natasha tells Steve not to do this because he'll make everything a lot worse, but Steve says he can't stand by and let this happen. Tommy morphs into the White Ranger, and he tells Scott to suit up. Tommy takes on both Eric and Ryan, while Steve takes on T'Challa and Sam takes on Nat. Scott eventually joins the fight, but it's broken up when Rhodey and Abomination land behind them. Rhodey tells Steve to come quietly. Tommy speaks to Billy through his communicator and tells him to get them all out of there, and Billy teleports them all to safety. 2 of them are now officially made fugitives, and they go on the run off the grid. Except Tommy and Scott, who take a plea deal and go under house arrest for the sake of their kids. This is the end of part 3. Let me know if you want to see a part 4 going into Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War. As always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. But that's all for now, guys. Bye.